Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I just wanted to touch base and remind you that there's only one more assignment that is due for the rest of the semester, and the due date for that is Tuesday, December the 5th. I decided to push it forward a little bit to give you just a little extra time. Just keep in mind that December the 5th is the last day of the final exam week, and I won't be able to accept any work after that date. So just be sure that you plan ahead and can get your assignment turned in before midnight on December 5th. So let's take a look really quick at the assignment. It's in Unit 7, and let's just pull it up really quick so we can be sure everyone's on the same page and feels comfortable with what to do. So we're going to go on to the Unit 7 writing assignment, and just a quick review here. Your final paper needs to be between 1,500 and 2,000 words. That's between 6 to 8 double-space typed pages. So it's, it's not a small essay. I think that first one you wrote needed to be about 4. So this is a little bit longer. You're going to need to do more development. And the task of the paper is for you to choose characters from 2 or more works throughout the term. At least 2 characters who you think have some sort of connection among them, either some theme, that they share, or some behavior or character motivation, things that you see in common among characters from at least 2 works that we've studied over the course of the semester. One thing to keep in mind is that I'm going to ask that the work that you choose about, at least one has to be something that you did not write about in your first essay, just to make sure that you give yourself a chance to explore and demonstrate that you've read, a majority of the assignments. So you're going to choose 2 or more works through the semester, one of which you didn't write about before in the first paper, and you're going to write a researched character analysis. So you're going to be focusing on character development. How does the author use this character to create messages or themes about maybe social problems or inequality, any of those themes that you have seen going on this semester. Choose characters that you think have these things in common across time periods and across literary movements. And then it's sort of like putting a puzzle together. You're going to do really close reading of the works that you've chosen and pull out details and quotes from those readings that demonstrate what this character's motivations are, how this character supports the themes of that literary movement. So you're going to be looking at things like characters' descriptions, characters' dialogue, how they behave, symbols maybe that are associated with specific characters. So it should be sort of a fun paper for you to do. To me, it's like putting together a jigsaw puzzle, finding which things fit together from across different readings. Okay, so another way this is a little bit different is that in your first paper you were not required to do any outside research. For this paper, you are going to need to find at least 4 outside scholarly sources that you can use to back up your own observations about the characters that you're writing about. So in other words, you don't want to use your outside sources for plot summary. You don't want to give too much background information. You can do a little bit of that stuff, but mostly you're going to look for things in sources that support your ideas about the characters, or that sort of take your ideas in a different direction. But anyway, so you're going to, on your Works Cited page, you'll need to have at least 6 sources cited. At least 2 of them are going to be the primary works or the stories that you choose from our readings, and then the other 4 will be outside sources that you choose from the library or from the internet if you choose wisely. And that's what I want to talk about now. I'm not sure how many of you have had a lot of experience doing research for scholarly articles versus popular sources like websites, but I wanted to talk a little bit about that. I'm just going to open up a Google tab here. I don't think it's a wise idea to tell students that they can't use Google to do research, because you can find some good sources on Google. It's a lot harder to be sure that they are good sources. So I want to do a sample search for you just to kind of show you which sources are okay to use from Google, and then when you need to go to the library to find sources. So I thought, I was fooling around. One of the stories that kind of stuck with me this semester was Catherine Mansfield's The Fly. So I thought I would just use that as an example search. And just because I'm using this doesn't mean that you can't. You can use anything that I talk about today as fair game for you to write about in your papers. So if you're doing your paper on Catherine Mansfield, don't worry, you can still use any of these sources that we find today during the sample search. So when I initially Google something, you can see I've already searched it up. So I'm just going to go into my search history, and we're going to look up Catherine Mansfield, The Fly. I went ahead and included the title because this is the character that we want to focus on, the story. And you see there's a ton of stuff that comes up. The very first thing, AmericanLiterature.com, I've already clicked on this and opened it, so I know that this is just a reprint of the story. So that's not really going to help. Under here, you see people also ask, if you click on these, you kind of get some sound bites, I guess, about themes and things like that. You know, and that kind of thing can be helpful when you're wading into a text and you're not exactly sure what it's about, you're trying to get a little footing. Those kinds of things are okay, but you don't want to rely on this for your paper. So do not use study.com. There's another one from study.com. These websites are generally paid websites where you would, have to subscribe in order to see what is a paper mill, just people selling papers to these places. So those are not okay for you to use in an academic paper. Wikipedia is not a quotable source. It's not a scholarly or reliable source. You can get good background information, but not anything that you want to have on your Works Cited page. Let's see, owleyes.org, that doesn't sound, just off the top of my head, it doesn't sound like an academic source. SparkNotes, definitely not. These things are okay for study guides if you have to take a quiz, but they're not okay for research. Now here's one that's interesting, the University of Oxford. So you can see I've already clicked on it because it's purple. I'm going to click on it again just to show you the source. So if I see a website that I think might be useful, I click on it and just kind of look at what's going on so we can tell whether this is a reliable source. So when I look at the top of the banner of this web page, you can see that this comes from the English department of the University of Oxford. You can see by the web address up here, it's a UK web address for Oxford University. So the source is pretty sound. And it looks like if we scroll down a little bit, this is the title of the web page, The Fly by Catherine Mansfield. And then you see in this italics area, it gives you some information about the author. So Professor Elike Bomer, or Bomer probably, is an Oxford professor, an English professor, who has recorded an interview with a supposed scholar, Sam Arnon, to talk about The Fly. So up here you can listen to the 5-minute interview. And if there's interesting information, there might be some background in here about the character. The Fly is a response to the war. It also talks about, let's see, the hypocrisy of the authorities in facing up to their responsibilities for initiating and then perpetuating the hostilities. So you get a little background information about Mansfield's concerns. She was, writing about the effects of war. And in particular, this story, The Fly, I think wraps up ideas of masculinity and grief. So this interview might have some good things, and this writing might have some good things. So I would say, it's not considered a scholarly source because it's not from a journal that's published by a university, and it's not peer-reviewed, but it's from an authoritative source. And for someone in an undergraduate class, I think this would be a fine source to use in your paper. The only problem is how you come up with your works cited entry, because it can be really confusing to figure out the different pieces of a website. So what I'm going to recommend is that if you find a web source that looks reliable to you and you can sort of defend it, by saying, well, this is a professor at Oxford and this is an interview she did. If you can defend it in that way and want to use the source, I would suggest going to a free citation generator. One that I use sometimes is Citation Machine. So I'm just going to type that in Google search, and then you can click on it, and I should have done MLA, but click Create Citations, and then let's see, where's the option? Well, maybe we don't want the APA. I'm going to go back. How do we get on MLA? So, oh, here, let's just click MLA Citation Generator. Okay. So there's a couple ways to do it, and I don't think there's really a wrong way to do it as long as you're trying. You could click website, since we did get this from a website. Or I've discovered if you click on the more, you might be able to drill it down and be even more specific. Like I think there's a category for interviews. So since I know that's an interview, I'm going to click that. And then in these tabs at the top, I'm going to click from a website because it is an interview that was posted on a website. Okay, and I didn't conduct the interview myself, so we're going to come here and go find the interview title. I'm just going to see if it will let me copy it. And then I'm going to go back and paste it. Yeah, that worked. So the contributors, okay, we know who the interviewer is. It's this professor. So we're just going to grab her first name, copy it, paste it into the first name field, go back, get the last name, Bomer. We're going to paste that in. All right, and then the website title, this can be a little tricky. Is the website title The Fly by Catherine Mansfield? I think that's the title of the web page, and the whole site itself, I think, would be University of Oxford Faculty of English. So I'm just going to shorten it, and I'm just going to do Faculty of English. Now, I don't know, another professor might do something different, but I'm just going to say, I'm going to take my best guess that that's the title of the website. And then the publisher and sponsor is Oxford University. And then we can go grab the URL up here at the top, copy it, paste it, and then the day it was published, let's see if we can find that information. Sometimes you have to scroll down, sometimes you won't find it. All I see right here is 2018, so I'm just going to put that. Usually you can find that information at the bottom. Since there's no day or month, we're just going to do the year. And then of course today is the 1st of December. I guess I could have just clicked use today's date. Alright, now let's see what else. Complete citation. And then there you go. And you can either keep your list here, or I would recommend that you get a Word page up and just copy that and paste it onto your Word document. And that's an easy way and a pretty reliable way to do works cited entries for web pages. You kind of just have to problem solve and be a little bit of a detective to figure out if that website is okay. You know, would your professor think, would you be able to defend it to your professor that it's authored by someone with expertise and that, you know, it's a trustworthy source? Okay, so that's if you want to use a web article. Just keep away from things like study.com, you know, anything that feels like it might be a paper mill or that it might require payment to get to the deeper essays or discussions on that website. Try to go for things that come from academics, like professors, or things that are published by universities, or sometimes things that end in .org are okay, even though Wikipedia is really not okay to cite in a paper. Okay, so that's internet searching. I'm going to cut the video because it's already been a big chunk of time to have you listen to, and I'm going to come back with another video about how to use the library source that's embedded in our eCore class so that you can be sure that you're getting scholarly articles. Okay, I'll see you in just a bit.